this, guys. I appreciate the time. I see that you have a House Street binder there,
yeah.
so I guess I'll start off with House Street, and maybe a good way to start here would be for one or both of you to kind of explain what is Wolverine doing, to rectify the situation
sure.
on House Street.
Yeah. I think at the highest level, Wolverine is committed to providing residents confidence in their drinking water. And as this situation has developed, and it is, you're pretty familiar with PFAS, it is an emerging situation. And as we have become aware of the situation, we have worked proactively and quickly to try to understand what's going on, and then also work to find solutions to provide the residents in the House Street area confidence in their drinking water in the short term, until we understand what a longer term solution is. I'm sure you know the timeline, but we were notified in March of this year by the first time by the DEQ about the potential. Okay. We did some testing in April. The April testing came back. I think we did 6 sites in April. 8 sites in April. Those 8 sites came back with either no detect or low detect. Mm-hmm. And then we want to understand. We kept curious about. We want to understand. What does this mean? What could this potentially mean? And we began to work internally. And then in June, the Belmont Armory did a well test as part of the Department of Defense, which you probably know, very familiar with this. Mm-hmm. And they came back, I think, at 97 parts per trillion on that test. Right. Almost simultaneously with that, there was a request for a well drilling permit at a vacant parcel. Mm-hmm. And then in conjunction with DEQ and the Kent County Health Department, given the sort of the underlying concern of PFAS may have been disposed, or PFAS material with PFAS in it may have been disposed at the House Street site back in the late 60s, we agreed to do a larger sampling in the area. I think we went out to 28 residences, 21 agreed to be sampled. We got that happened in July, and we got the results on the 7th and 8th of August. Of those 21 results, it's essentially a third, a third, a third. A third were low detect, a third were between 0 and 70, and then a third were greater than 70. We found those results on a Tuesday, and that same day we said we have to find a water solution for the residents that had been tested. So we bought Meyer gift cards and offered to buy bottled water for all the residences that were sampled, regardless of their results. So we didn't say if you're 0 to 70, we're not going to offer you a solution. We offered it to everybody. Okay. And then we went out and secured and began to install a water filtration system, the one that the DEQ recommends and is certified for PFAS removal. Okay. So we began to install those that same day. The Friday of that week, so just the timeline, the sequence of events, that Monday and Tuesday we got the first batch of results back, out with water to the residents, ordered filtration systems, and by that Friday we had submitted a plan to the DEQ to test our own site of the House Street property.
Why did the plan to test the House Street property? Why was there a delay?
Delay from when?
Why not get right to testing the House Street property immediately once there's suspected PFAS in the area?
You mean all the way dating back to the Monday, or
no? From the very beginning. Once it was back in once you were notified in March and the April testing, why not get right onto the property and start trying to figure out what the groundwater flow is on that property? Why did it take until September?
It didn't take until September. It was in August that we submitted a plan. I think we were working through all of those things internally on what the best next steps were, and then immediately in June, when the Belmont Armory issue arose, our focus at that point immediately was what do we do about the residents, and how do we work to get those wells sampled, and then once the samples did come back with the third of exceeding the 70 parts per trillion. How do we find them a short-term solution for the well filtration, while simultaneously then beginning the plan to further understand the site. So Friday we submitted the plan. I'm sure you're aware of this. That plan was reviewed. We've prepped the site. We scheduled drillers on that Friday. The first available date we could get them was the week of September 5th. The site was prepared, the documentation was put in order, and they're drilling on that site as of last week.
So it's sort of a bureaucratic, the process takes as long as it does type of situation.
I think we're trying to move, Wolverine is trying to move as quickly as we can throughout the process, and that's something that we're committed to. That's something that I think hopefully through our actions, you're seeing that approach. You're seeing the approach of when we found out something was amiss with the water, with the first batch of results. Again, keep in mind the results that we did back in the first batch in April showed low or no detect in those households. And then as soon as we found the batch of results, the 21 tests, the third coming back in exceedance of the EPA guidelines, I think that's when we quickly focused on the residents first. And how do we get a solution in here? And then simultaneously with that, coming up with a plan that DEQ would approve, which we did by that Friday, and we commenced drilling last week. I think, for us, speed is important. We want to be proactive, and we want to go try to find solutions. We're 33 days removed from when we got the first well test back that showed those third of those houses in exceedance of the government recommended levels. So a bunch of steps. Since then, we're testing on our site this week, last week, and this week. It's going to take about 2 to 3 months to get those results back. I'm not an expert in well drilling, but to build a new well, get it set in the right place, get the land prepped, get it all to settle, get the water, it just takes a little bit longer than it would to normally test a well that's in existence. So we're 2 to 3 months away from getting those results. We've since expanded the phasing of testing. I'm sure you're familiar with the property really well. I mean, you sort of know the different parcels. We're continuing to expand. If I think about sort of concentric circles, and it's not a perfect circle, but we're expanding that ring of the House Street property to understand, what might be happening underground, and we're expanding the test to nearly 70 new parcels that we got the approvals last week, and we're going to begin testing as soon as this week. We'd expect those results in 4 to 6 weeks, most likely on the low end of that, since most of the original batch came in the low end. Of all those people that were sampling the new wells, this new 70 batch, we've offered filters right now, regardless of just, we don't even know, but we're offering those filters. Yeah, great question. I mean, and right now we're parallel pathing. Like right now we're very focused on the short term. What is the plan? How do we communicate it effectively? How do we get the word out to the residents, and how do we offer them solutions that give them confidence in their water? I think the longer term solution is confidence in the water, and I think it's early for us to speculate on what those solutions could be. I'm sure you know what the potential solutions are, whether it's digging wells at different depths, whether it's a community well, whether it's tapping into the municipal water supply. I think those are all alternatives that, as we fully understand and characterize and dimensionalize what's happening in the House Street area, then we will work closely with state and local agencies to see what is the right recommended approach. And I'll say it again, Wolverine World Wide has been in this community for 100 years. We want to be here for 100 more. We are taking this with the utmost seriousness. We're trying to take a proactive approach. We're trying to get the best advice we possibly can. We're trying to communicate it effectively to the residents. And we hope that our actions are speaking to that. And I think once we know, better understand the site and what we're dealing with, understand where the hits are on the parcel well tests, then I think we'll work with experts, including the state and local agencies, to say, well, what is an appropriate course of action for us? But I go back to we're committed to a long-term solution that gives the residents confidence in their water.
If that is whole house filters for PFAS affected homes, are you committed to paying for those?
What I would say today is that we're not taking any options off the table.
Including potentially funding a municipal main extension effort?
We're not taking any options off the table.
Okay. So the long-term remedies that have thus far sort of been suggested by the health department, those are potential things that Wolverine could pay for, might be willing to pay for.
Yeah. I think it's too early for us to say. We don't fully understand what the best long-term solution is. We're not saying what we think the long-term solution is. At the same time, we're not saying we're going to. We will not entertain that as a long-term solution. I can say that we are 100% committed to finding a water solution for the residents that gives them confidence in the water from their tap.
House Street is not the only area where there was waste dumped. What other areas do you know of where tannery waste was dumped?
Yeah, this is certainly an emerging topic that we're trying to get fully understand all of the different places. We know Northeast Gravel was an additional site.
Yeah,
after post 19. So we disposed when the House Street site we operated. Again, I know you know this, but it was a state licensed and regulated disposal facility. With the material, the byproduct we took there from the tannery operations in Rockford, we did it not under the cover of darkness. It was the state regulated what we did. We did that for 4 years. And then subsequent to 1970, we found other sites to dispose of the waste.
I've heard of Northeast Gravel. You probably read it. I recently wrote about a truck driver, and I found some state records indicating that tannery waste was in fact dumped at the state disposal landfill on the Bell Line. My inquiry, though, the return statement I got was that we don't have records for that, or we do not believe that that happened. Although there are records that indicate that it did happen. So, does Wolverine not have complete records of where its waste went? In the 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s, it does seem to be a surprise. People, myself and others, might expect a company of this size to keep better waste records.
Yeah, I think we're aware of what has been said, what has been printed. I think we continue to do research. We're back checking against what our own records are, but this is again, our focus right now. The time that we've devoted to this and our attention right now is really working to resolve the House Street issue and finding a short-term solution for the residents there. And then obviously we're working towards a longer-term solution. We are looking at own internal records on what our disposal practices were, over the past 5 decades.
I was told that Wolverine did not know that Scotchgard contained PFAS until last year. How could that be? How could Wolverine not know that Scotchgard contained these perfluorinated chemicals until last year, long after they were even, the tannery was demolished?
Yeah,
how is that possible?
I think we used 3M product Scotchgard to help to add performance enhancements to our products. This PFAS is I think we would all agree it is an emerging issue. There is not a lot known about it. We're learning more, honestly, on a daily basis. We certainly are committed today to using environmentally responsible products and managing our business in a responsible way. I certainly think over the years, our focus today, where we sit and sort of moving forward, is how do we become better stewards, and everything we do across the supply chain. How do we do it with a strong focusing on what is the right thing to do with all the best information we have, and then making those the best decisions possible.
Do you still use Scotchgard?
We do, but PFAS was eliminated from Scotchgard, I think, in 2002.
When Scotchgard was pulled from the market briefly, what did Wolverine use to waterproof and stain-proof its shoes?
That's going to be a question that I said I'm going to have to get. I don't know the history of waterproofing, okay, but we can certainly follow up.
Okay. Did you ever, did you have stockpiles of the original formula at the tannery at the time?
That's going to be another. That's what I'm going to have to track down.
Are you aware of instances where Wolverine polluted the Rum Creek or the Rogue River ever?
Am I aware of efforts to, or am I aware of us polluting Rum Creek or Rogue River? I'm not personally aware of that.
Would you be surprised to learn that there are, documented cases of that?
Might defer to you on some of the environmental issues around the Rogue River, because that's.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, we're doing a full investigation and have been, of that site. So we've been working hand in hand with the DEQ, throughout that entire process.
Why have the leather scraps on the side of the river not been cleaned up before?
Yeah.
I mean, these have been known among the community ever since the tannery was demolished. From before the tannery was demolished, I believe the Rockford Square published images of it years ago.
So this is where you're going to get the straight, unvarnished answer, like we shouldn't have. And we've submitted a plan to the DEQ to have those removed. We're waiting for the vegetation to recede this fall. That will be removed this fall. The one concern that we are, in full transparency, is there is some concern about some of the potential erosion issues on the Rogue River. So we don't want to do the right thing by cleaning up what we did. We want to clean up what we did, but we don't want to make a bigger environmental issue by affecting the creek. So we've been in constant contact with the DEQ on this. They know that we want to solve it. Personally, sitting here today, we shouldn't have done it. And we're committed to cleaning it up.
Do you know how it happened?
I don't know how or when it happened. I think I would say we benefit today by living in a society that has greater regulation and greater control. And I think that the earth is a better place for that. I think some things, that were done however many years ago, in hindsight, we can sit here today with the benefit of time and hindsight and education and information and say, man, that probably wasn't the right thing to do. As we've learned about those things, as we continue to work through this, the focus we have on addressing the House Street issue, closing some of the lingering questions people have about the tannery, we absolutely have to get that cleaned up, and that'll be cleaned up this fall.
What was your personal reaction when you found out that that leather scraps were still on the riverbank, in plain view of anyone who wanted to go see them? And what did you think when you saw this?
How they got there and why we didn't pick them up. And I mean, again, this is me being honest with you, and hopefully you appreciate the candor and not the polished PR speak. We have a responsibility. We live and work in this community. Our kids go to these schools. We fish in the Rogue River. We have to be good corporate citizens. That's a responsibility. And I believe in, now we're trying to work through the House Street issue, which is happening very much in real time, that we're trying to take the right steps. And I believe that we are taking a proactive approach to House Street. The public will be the jury on that. And you as a journalist will help be a jury on that and hold us accountable to that. But I do think, the onus is on us to set a great example. And I'm confident that we're going to clean it up this fall. And I think we'll continue to work to be the best we can possibly be. And it doesn't mean we're going to fall and trip along the way, but we're committed to doing the right thing. I mean, one of our corporate values is to make the world a better place. I sat in the team that wrote the corporate values, and I make the world a better place. Everything from philanthropy to charity to sustainability to social responsibility, I take those things really seriously.
Learning about some of the past practices in regards to waste disposal, how do you reconcile those things with that corporate responsibility statement you just you help draft?
Yeah, I think honestly for us, we will hindsight things that we did, but right now today at Wolverine we're focused on what the future is. And right now, everyone who's engaged in this matter is working to solve the immediate issue with House Street. How do we get to the bottom of that? There will be corporate internal reviews on other things, and we will work to do better moving forward. But for me to sit here and judge in hindsight something that happened, it's probably not the best use of my time right now. The best use of my time and David's time and the leadership's time is getting after the House Street issue, fully understanding, dimensionalizing what's happening underground on our property, what the potential impact is on the residents, and then finding, in partnership with local and state authorities, what the long-term solution is. And that's what we're committed to. We want the residents to have confidence in their water. And when I began to be engaged in this, I have 2 small boys, right? And I have a well. And when you go home at night, what I thought to myself is, how would I want a company to act? What would I want a company to do? And I think we believe today that we are taking a proactive, aggressive approach to manage this the right way. It's probably going to take longer than you would want it to, just because it's a process. And we're working with various agencies along the way. We're working with an emerging compound, an emerging substance that, frankly, when you sit with the experts, they can't always tell you exactly what it does. And I think we're learning in real time. And I know you're an expert in this subject, and I think hopefully you can appreciate a little bit of that.
It's a learning curve, sure it is. What do you, if any worker safety rules were in place at the tannery regarding the use of Scotchgard?
That's a good question. I'm going to have to get back to you on that one.
Okay.
I don't mean to deflect questions. I just want to make sure we give you a proper answer, and we have to go back and make sure we give you a proper answer on that.
Okay. Do you know? I think I may have touched on this. I believe I touched on this earlier. But how robust is Wolverine's waste disposal record file? Are you familiar with it enough to characterize that it's pretty solid, or there are gaps in internal company records? Because I've seen the Wolverine's submittal to the EPA in 2012, and there were very specific questions asked about waste records, and there was very little response. So I'm curious as to why there seems to be so little waste record keeping at Wolverine.
Yeah.
That seems to be an issue.
Yeah, I don't know if I would characterize it as so little. I think we feel pretty good about the information and the documentation that we have kept through the years, and I think we're certainly we're in a certainly a newer era of regulation and compliance and manifests and how you're disposing of these things and what you're actually doing. I would say generally, from an operational standpoint, that is one of the strengths of the company. That's it's one of the things that allows us to be a global business. So operationally, I think that is one of the strengths of the company. I can't comment on a specific file that was missing from a report. We can certainly dig into that. But I would say generally, I feel pretty good about the information that we have and how we've maintained that. Certainly in compliance with all sort of state and local agencies under which we operate.
What is the structure of your waste management record keeping? Is there a person involved in charge of it? Is there a team of people? What does it look like?
So we have a global operations group that manages sort of all of the operations for the company across all the facets of operation. That would sit within our global operations group.
And in terms of archival or historic waste records, is that also within that global, or would there be, would Rockford-specific, Michigan-specific waste records be still here at headquarters somewhere?
I believe those records would be here in Rockford.
Okay.
And again, a lot of that waste would be, a lot of what you're talking about would be related to the tannery operation, which we closed down, not 9 years ago now.
Were you aware that the House Street disposal area was not disclosed to the EPA in 2012 in regards to questions asked about waste disposal, past waste disposal practices?
I was not aware of that.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen that 2012 report, not recently at least, so we certainly want to take a look at that.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell me why the tannery site in downtown is still not redeveloped?
Yeah, good question. I think for us, when we made the decision to close the tannery and demolish the building, we had thoughts of redeveloping that site, and we still have thoughts of redeveloping that site. for us, you know, what does the community want? What do we want to build there? And then just the investment dollars to actually make that happen. If you remember, you know, coming out of, this is sort of the recession days, right? 2008, 2009, 2010 wasn't as robust of a market that we find ourselves on. We had some redevelopment plans. We talked about relocating the company store. We talked about a farmer's market. We talked about a bunch of, which I thought would have been great ideas, and there's excitement in the community for us to go do that. It was going to be sort of a partnership between us and potentially a couple of other partners. But honestly, there's the financial conditions at the time and the level of investment required to do that just gave us pause to go do that. So it's really nothing other than what is the long-term vision that we have for that site? How does it fit into sort of a master plan for the Rockford community? And then just the bandwidth and energy and the investment dollars to go do that.
What is the long-term vision right now?
For the site? I think, you know, for us, I mean, I still talk to Blake about, you know, what could that be redeveloped to? Do we make it a part of our corporate headquarters and having it be downtown? Do we relocate the retail store? I personally would love it to I'd love it to be a farmer's market and a baseball diamond and a skating rink in the winter and have a amphitheater for concerts. But just because that's what I want doesn't mean that's feasible or makes economic sense. But we certainly, you know, we still have regular discussions about what we want to go do there. I don't know how familiar you are with the company right now, but you know, we're working through a transformation project right now as part of Wolverine World Wide. It's a consumer soft goods discretionary is a pretty tough industry right now. And I would say, you know, executive leadership's time and energy is really focused on, you know, ensuring the transformation and the long-term prosperity of the company. And then hopefully we'll have a day coming up soon where we can spend some calories on reimagining what that tannery site could be. You know, I certainly would love to think that I could be a part of the team that would help redevelop that into something really special for the community. We take our place in the community extraordinarily seriously. And that would be a great piece for us to build. I know Blake is CEO. You're always looking for legacy things to go do. That would be a great project. So honestly, it comes down to investment decisions and just calories to go do that.
So you're saying the market for that in 2017 is given the market
2010 when we were doing the development.
Right, but it still hasn't. Still nothing has happened with that site.
Yeah.
You know, so we're talking 7 years later.
Yep.
The market's very different now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially for commercial real estate
absolutely.
in downtown Rockford. And yet there's still just an empty field. So
yep.
What do you need to happen?
No, the market conditions are certainly much better today than they were when we were originally conceiving and envisioning what that could be, and then ultimately when we decided to shelve that project. There's you know, the market conditions are certainly better. I would say what's preventing us from going to do that right now is just simply, you know, we have a massive project right now as part of our transformation effort, and you guys have covered it. Other outlets have covered our transformation project is involved. We did a big acquisition in 2012 of 4 brands based in Boston. You know, that just takes a lot of time and effort. So it's not for lack of ideas. I think right now, and it's not for lack of anything other than, you know, where are we going to prioritize what's most important to the company right now. You know, again, I would love to get back after that project. I know Blake would love to get back after that project. It just comes down to when you're a publicly traded company and you're dealing with what we're dealing with, a big part of strategy is what are you not going to go spend time on. And right now, we're prioritizing this transformation effort. In 2012 through 2014, we were focused on the acquisition of our Boston-based brands. But there's interest in go doing it. And certainly to your point, and I think you're right, the market is better today than it was then. And I'm sure certainly something that we'll discuss as a management team again.
So contamination on the property has not played a factor in
No.
the fact that it hasn't been redeveloped yet?
No.
None whatsoever?
No.
So that's surprising to me, that, you know, because there was a. Are you familiar with the pit area on this property? There's a area that was dug out during demolition, and it appears to have been particularly shortly after that was discovered. the plans for the retail store that had been in, it sounds like they had been in the works with the city of Rockford. They were basically expecting that this was going to happen. Suddenly, the plan for the redevelopment goes away. So you're telling me definitively contamination on that property had no has had no factor in the delay of redevelopment on that site?
As I sit here today with all the information that I have, because I was close to the retail store redevelopment, working on that project, it became more about what is the long-term vision for that property, what do we want it to be in the investment decision. We did not get to a place where we're making a go or no-go decision based upon the conditions in the field.
Okay. Are you satisfied with the way that the tannery demolition was conducted in terms of the environmental controls that were in place, the disposal of the tannery debris? Are you satisfied that everything was done in an above-board manner and in a way that's protective of public health?
Yeah, I think the way in which we managed that project. I think the headline there is that we worked extraordinarily closely with state agencies and local agencies to make sure we did that in an appropriate manner. So I don't have any concerns about how that took place. With that said, I'm not happy that we've got leather scraps still sitting on the banks of the Rogue River. That, like I said earlier, we should have dealt with that. But I'm not aware of any sort of other issues related to the demolition of the tannery. And as near all the information I have is that if you state the DEQ would say that they have been with us every step of the way.
Apparently there's still quite a bit of leather, not just scraps on the river, but hides that are buried on that property. That apparently is potentially contributing to ammonia discharge to Rum Creek and the Rogue River. So those are left over.
Yeah, and that's something that I think we're developing. What is the plan? What is the plan to deal with that? And I think that would be, when I spoke earlier, like that. Those are the things that we have been engaged with DEQ on. What is the long-term solution for those?
Yeah, and even more than that, the plan is and has been to remove those, so that will be happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're just about.
I got 2 more questions.
Sure.
If in the future there are health concerns related to the dump sites, sicknesses like cancers, organ diseases, that are linked to chemicals that were used by Wolverine or were disposed of by Wolverine, how would you react to that news when that comes out, if it comes out?
Yeah, it's hard to react to hypothetical, to be honest with you. That's a pretty broad question you just asked. I go back to Wolverine. We've been here for over a century. We plan to be here for a century more. Hopefully, the steps that we're taking with regards to the House Street issue, and then remedying some leftover issues with regards to the tannery. Hopefully, that is a visible sign of our commitment to the community and the citizens there. I think when if and when, God forbid, if that situation to arise for anybody, we'll obviously deal with that with the facts we have at the time.
And you, at the end of the day, consider Wolverine to be a good corporate citizen?
I do. I think Wolverine is a good company. Is a great company because we've got great people, and I think we continue to work and find ways to be better. We're not perfect, I think, but we are committed to doing the right thing. We're committed to the residents of West Michigan and wherever we operate offices around the world. And I think we aspire. Being a good corporate citizen is a very high bar, and we aspire to do that every single day. Are there days where we don't live up to that expectation? Absolutely. But again, I go back to Wolverine's a good company because I think we've got great people, and I think we care, and we're trying to do the right thing. And again, it's easy for me to sit here and say that to you. At the same time, hopefully what you're going to see our response to, or what our response has been to the House Street area, will be testament to that. And I'm guessing that you'll be here in 6 months talking to me about something else. And that's, not because I know something else is going to come up, but, it's the world we live in. And I think, while we don't know everything today, I'm committed. I know the team is committed to doing the right thing. And so, yeah, by that measure, I would say that we're a good corporate citizen.
That's the end of my questions. Is there anything else, any final remarks or things that you wanted to make sure that
I don't.
on the record?
Did I have anything you'd want to add?
Nope, I don't think so.
I'm just guessing we'll see you tonight.
Yes, I will be at the meeting. I'm interested to see how this meeting will go. I've been to a few meetings on relating to this particular chemical in Oscoda and Grayling. Those were obviously military contamination, but it's the same chemistry.
Right.
So I think you can probably expect some angry people. I'm sure that's not a surprise. But it'll be interesting to see. We'll be there and taking some photos, and I'll be taking notes, and it's